opportunity for guys to step up, such as myself, just to take on that leadership role that player the player and person he was in our locker room. So, Richard is an outstanding human being, and if he is moving on, then we'll miss him.
We're talking to Fred Warner. Fred, in terms of approach, John Lynch was talking about how you practice. Kyle Shanahan says the phrase he actually uses is intentional practice when it comes to the way you go about your business. Lynch says nobody embodies that more than you. So what does that mean, intentional practice, and what's your mindset when you hit the practice field?
Well, yeah, before going out on the practice field, I'm always going out there with a goal in mind. What do I want to accomplish for the day? And it's never just put on the pads. Well, it's just another day. It's so easy to get caught up in just a simple routine of putting on your pads, going out there, just going through the motions, and you're not going to get any better doing that. I think what has allowed me to progress at such a fast rate is going out there and really having, like you said, intention. I go out there and I'm like, okay, today I'm gonna practice on punching the ball out, or I'm gonna work on tracking the near hip when I'm coming to balance to make a tackle. Just little things like that. It might seem small, but those small things add up over time, because we do have so much practice time out there throughout the year. Honestly, not a lot of practice time, so you really got to utilize the practice that you do get, and that's what's helped me so much in my game, and learning that from different vets who've come along the way, such as like Malcolm Smith and Quan and guys like that, and also having a tremendous linebacker coach like D'Amico. Just those guys really embedded that into me, because I didn't come into the league just knowing those things right away, right? It's taken guys help me along the way.
Fred Warner joining me for a few more moments. Fred, before I let you go, and I appreciate what you just said about the vets who came before you, let me flip you to the other side of the ball, because there's been some speculation, some rumors, some reports about Jimmy Garoppolo's future. I know you're focused on your work and what you can control, but what is your reaction when you hear the speculation and reports about Jimmy G?
Well, there's always going to be rumors and different reports every year, right, of different things that are going on within the team. And when the quarterback position is the most important one on the team, that's my opinion. Obviously, that's going to be probably the biggest rumor going around. And there's a lot of rumors going around multiple teams with that position. And the thing with Jimmy is he's our guy. He's the leader. He's one of the leaders of this team. And he's going to continue to get better. I think he's only had one year where he's been able to stay healthy fully. So I know he's just going to continue to try and improve upon that. But he continues to get better and better. The arm talent is there. Everything that you want in a franchise quarterback is there. So, I'm just looking forward to him continuing to get better. And us as a team, we're going to continue to ride with him and do whatever we can to improve the team.
Say one last question for you. Earlier in the season when you were playing the Patriots, Tony Romo was calling the game, and he said, quote, "You're an all-pro in every sense of the word." He also called you, quote, "the best linebacker in ball." Really, really high praise. What's that feel like to hear that? And do you feel like at this point you are now the best linebacker in ball?
Man, it felt really surreal, honestly, when I first heard about it. Just a guy like Tony Romo to have such high praise for me, and just kind of seeing that I'm starting to get some of that recognition around the league. All I've ever wanted was that respect, right? And now looking at where I'm sitting at in the league and the guys around me, just, having the most all-pro votes out of linebackers this past season and doing things at a high level, all I really want to do is maximize my own ability, right? It's not about trying to compare myself to the rest of the league. I want to maximize what I can get out of myself. And I think if I do that and I focus on continuing to get 1% better every single day, then the product I'm going to put on the field is going to be exactly what I'm hoping for and what the team needs out of me. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing today, and then tomorrow and then the next day. So.
Dude, I love that mentality, actually. So how are you going to get better today? If we're talking about a normal off-season day, you hang up the phone, you're done with me, where would you look to improve today? How do you get better today?
Well, I think for Friday, obviously I'll have my whatever workouts I have to do today. But a big thing for me since coming to the league, I think that's helped me a lot, is just working on a lot of mobility work, just making sure that I'm getting my hips looser, my ankles more mobile, to be able to, that's what ultimately is allowing me to stay healthy, because you are put in such awkward positions on the field. And on top of that, just building the strength, because a lot of the time people want to build up the strength, but then they don't have the mobility. And so that's where the injuries happen. So just focusing on all areas, obviously diet, nutrition, sleep are huge things that I've tried to dial into my routine. But it's all about the details, just the little things that you can do every single day that compound over time and result in big dividends.
I hear exactly what you're saying. He's an all-pro. He's a Pro Bowler coming off an enormous season. Fred Warner of the 49ers joining us once again. Fred, great to have you on. Love the message. I love the energy, and it's great talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim. Always a pleasure.
There are grips upon grips of stories that back that up. Stories that Mike himself has not denied. Stories that Mike himself has actually confirmed. Let me give you a couple examples. How about when Mike's Bulls beat Larry Bird's Pacers in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals? Larry finds Mike after the game to congratulate him, and Mike reportedly hits him with, quote, "You bitch, F you, take care. Now you can go work on that golf game of yours." End quote. I mean, that's an amazing exchange. In fact, there's nothing alleged or reported about that. That was caught on tape and aired in The Last Dance. Mike had just beaten Larry's Pacers. Larry, and it couldn't have been an easy thing to do, Larry seeks Mike out to congratulate him and pay his respects. And Mike hits him with, "Bleep you, bitch. Enjoy playing golf." To Larry Bird, no less. Who does that? Mike. That's who. Most people might say, hey, yeah, good game, much respect. Good game, good series, tough battle. You gave us all we could handle. Nice job. See you next year. All the best to the fam. Not Mike. Nope. Mike's more like, who won? You bitch. Bleep you. Go work on your golf game. Like, you're a bitch for not winning, and bleep you for even trying or thinking that you could win. The hell are you even doing talking to me anyway, B? Yeah, that's what I thought. Get the hell out of my face. So, when Kevin Garnett goes on Jimmy Kimmel's show last night and tells a story about being 19 and fresh out of high school playing Mike in Chicago, of course I'm going to believe anything that KG has to say about what that was like back then. I mean, there were a lot of urban myths surrounding the association and what may or may not have happened regarding a lot of different guys. But if somebody says something about Mike from back in the day, especially if that somebody's Kevin Garnett, I'm going to assume it's true. So, Jimmy Kimmel said to KG, what do you got about Mike? What can you tell me about Mike? Give me a Mike story. And KG lays this out for him.
I'm young. I'm 19 years old. I'm in the league. I'm fresh. I graduated out of high school in Chicago, so we come back, we play the Bulls. And I was playing great. Probably the best I've ever played in my life at this point, right? And it's against the Bulls, and J.R. Ryder is having an unbelievable game, too. And I'm just feeling 19. I'm like, yeah, keep going. Killing him. Ooh. And in the short form of it, Jimmy, I woke up a sleeping dog. And it wasn't pleasant. Yeah. That big dog named Michael Jordan. Yeah. And he bit. He bites, and he bit hard, and it turned really bad. And it turned bad quick, Jimmy. JR told me just to calm down. He's like, okay, yeah, I'm having a good game, but chill. He right here. He can hear you. I'm like, okay, so keep going.
All right, so I've heard a lot of Jordan stories that are very similar to that one. Somebody starts feeling themselves, and they start running some junk. Jordan hears it and makes them eat every last word, makes them pay. Gary Payton, my guy the glove, was a famous victim of the exact same thing too. But here's where it gets peak Mike. Check this next clip out, because even though Mike punished KG 25 years ago on the court, he still goes out of his way to remind him of that time every time he sees him.
Well, I like to think that it's definitely burnt into my brain. But wherever I see Jordan, he always does the same thing every time. He palms my head and he says, you remember I gave you 40 3/4? And I was like, man, go ahead. And then he has like this sidekick of people around him. He's like, hey, pull that up. And then the guy goes and pulls it up. And I'm like, what is this? Who walks around with this? This is really Jordan Brand. Who walks around with content? Like teed up? Like what? Yeah, it was an experience in which I quit talking trash to Michael.
Michael has a guy who walks around with highlights packages. That is
already teed up, Jimmy.
That's an amazing story. KG says, who walks around with content? Jordan is walking around with an entourage who have his highlights queued up to show his victims. Like Garrett Ritt ignoring his job yesterday to scour Twitter and cherry pick the one nice tweet about him just to put in front of me to read on the air. Can't believe this is how Mike rolls. But I can. It's Mike It's the most Mike thing ever. Of course, this guy walks around with people whose only job is to be his own version of on-demand Sports Center. Except it's not Sports Center. It's Mike Center. But it's not even Mike making some lackey show Kevin Garnett the tape from 25 years ago, man. It's so much more than that. It's so much more than that. I love that part of the story where KG says whenever he sees Mike, not only does he remind him of that time that he dropped 40 on him in 3 quarters, but he palms the ticket's bald head.
But wherever I see Jordan, he always does the same thing every time. He palms my head. He says, you remember I gave you 40 and 3 quarters?
What is the most disrespectful thing about that? The fact that he's got somebody whose job is to have the video at the ready so we can talk more junk about something that happened a quarter of a century ago? Or the fact that he's palming Kevin Garnett's head? And remember, Mike is about a half a foot shorter than Kevin. He's got to reach up to disrespect him that way. I mean, another reason to go, right? If somebody lays a hand on you, if somebody physically touches you, he's not only physically touching KG, he's putting a palm on his bald head. If that's not a reason to go, what is? You know what that is, aside from being really disrespectful? It's the ultimate older brother move. You know, palming somebody else's bald dome. Brother. Like, Mike is just going to stick his tongue out, take off from the free throw line, and dunk KG's melon through the rim. And you know Mike would try it. But I'm not surprised by any of this. I mean, The Last Dance essentially was 10 episodes of Mike pulling up YouTube and showing the world his highlights. In fact, last week, I had Kenny Anderson on my podcast. I asked him how accurate he thought that entire docuseries was.
That's Mike, through playing against him and knowing how he was in life. That's just how he rolled. That's just what he did. He controlled his documentary somewhat. Some of the players was mad at it. Some wasn't. Some were. And, it's just tough. But you're talking about one of the best, if not the best player that ever played the game. And he won 6 championships with the Bulls. So, he could say whatever you want to say somewhat. But you don't know what's true and not true.
Well said, Kenny. It is Mike. I mean, we may not know what's true and what's not, but Mike can pretty much say and do whatever the hell he wants. He can call Larry Bird a bitch. He can palm Kevin Garnett's bald head while making him watch highlights from like 40 years ago that some crony had already locked and loaded on the off chance they ran into KG. Who's going to stop him? I'm sure Mike's got a whole list of his greatest hits on the ready, in the phone, so he can remind everybody of how he did them back in the day. Including KG. Especially KG. Guarantee if he were to happen to run into Larry, he'd have lots of highlights queued up for Larry. Are you craving some protein after a good workout? I know I am. Before, I did not have a very good plan, but I do now. Listen, do not make a shake. Don't eat a bar. Grab a bag of beef jerky from Old Trapper instead. Old Trapper beef jerky is tasty, it's tender, and it's made from real strips of steak and quality spices that are smoked over a real wood fire. And it goes wherever you go. Just look for Old Trapper. It's in the Clearview bag. That way you can see exactly the quality you're getting. Look for it in major retail stores near you. If you don't see it, ask for it by name, because I'm telling you, no other jerky compares. Old Trapper, what's your beef? Jim Trotter, my man. What's going on, Jim? How are you?
I'm great, Romy. How you doing, man?
Good. Great to have you back, Jim. Before I talk to you about football, I do want to ask you, though. I saw you on the golf course yesterday, and you had, Jim, what looked like a vulture hanging out at the tee box with you. How did that go, and how did your round end up going?
It was a turkey vulture who had just, excuse me, I guess caught its dinner for the evening. And let's just say I left the tee box to the turkey vulture. I was not going to intrude. And my round went well. I mean, I had as many birdies as triples. So for me, that's a good day. So no complaints.
Good to hear it. Jim Trotter, my guest. All right, Jim, I want to get into the details of Russell Wilson and his situation. But before we break that thing down, what do you make of the dynamic right now between the quarterback and the franchise?
Jim, for me, it's not surprising at all. Pete has created a culture up there from the very beginning where he wanted his players to be able to speak their minds. And to me, this is no exception. So it's just that it's taken Russell this long to finally come out and say it publicly. So I'm not surprised at all by this. And in fact, I'm a little, if anything surprises me is that it took this long for Russell to say what he's feeling about the situation.
We're talking to Jim Trotter. So, Jim, what about the situation? You've got Pete Carroll, of course, who's all about a strong running game and a nasty defense, and the sense has been for a while that Russ would like to throw the ball some more and have a little more to say on what's going on with the offense.